God damn it. And no sooner do I make a video about how CM Punk is being misused than the very next Raw show, they make him the World Heavyweight Champion. Why do you hate me, Vince McMahon? Seriously, do you do these things just to spite me? Look, let's get something straight right here. I give WWE credit for putting the belt on CM Punk. They finally had the balls to create a new top star. You know, he's a talented guy. It's a new, fresh, interesting face in the main event picture, which, quite frankly, they really needed. I think we're all in agreement on that, so I'll give them that much. However, when you think about how Punk has been booked since WrestleMania, you kind of have to agree with what Bradshaw said to him on that show about him being a paper champion, because that's basically what he looks like right now. I am 150% in favor of making CM Punk the world champion, if it's executed correctly. But he needed to be built up before this happened. With how he's been booked lately, I just don't buy it. I mean, he's coming off a lot of notable losses to guys like Jericho, Regal, Edge. It's just like what RVD Tito for Life said in the video they made a little while ago, which they then quickly deleted, about how, you know, when CM Punk finally cashes in the briefcase, he'll have no credibility, and if he wins, then the belt has no credibility. Well, they were right on the money. WWE should have spent the time since WrestleMania giving Punk a lot of exposure and some high-profile wins, like at King of the Ring, for example. Then he'd be credible. You can't have him win Money in the Bank, then make him spend the next 4 months struggling in the mid-card, and then right out of the blue make him the world champion. I don't care how popular the guy is, he looks like a fluke. Now, granted, the win over Bradshaw helped. I mean, he looked strong enough in that match, so I don't know, maybe the writers are committed to building him up now, and that's great. That's what they need to do. The issue I have with it is that this should have been done before he won the title, not after. And, I don't know, maybe the writers thought that no one would care about that since it's a big swerve, it shocked everybody. Well, I'm sorry, but like I said in an earlier video, sometimes a swerve is shocking because it doesn't make sense. And I'm going to cover these all by bullet points. Bullet point number 1. The title of this show is called AJs Revenge. Okay? So for the opening segment, the heels come out and they run down AJ Styles on the mic. AJ's an adulterer, he's a wife stealer, he's worse than Hitler, blah blah blah. And the babyfaces start coming out, and that's all well and good. So they're talking, and I start thinking, when's AJ coming out? When's AJ coming out? So after about 20 minutes of talking, things finally start to get physical, and AJ comes out with a steel chair to finally get some payback on the heels, and just when he starts to kick their asses, they cut backstage for a Karen Angle interview. There's something very wrong with this. And unless I'm imagining things, stuff like this seems to happen an awful lot whenever Karen Angle is on the program. TNA seriously needs to lay off the Karen Angle worship already. And I'm not trying to disrespect her as a performer or as an on-air talent or anything like that, because I happen to think that she is, you know, decently talented. But whenever she's scheduled to be on the show, she tends to get more face time and more mic time than the entire X Division and Knockouts Division put together. And these last 2 shows were a perfect example of that. Okay? She did what she was supposed to do. AJ and Kurt finally hate each other. Now it is time to move Karen Angle into the background and hand the spotlight over to the wrestlers. Why is Karen Angle getting so much TV time? These last few shows were so much better when her involvement was kept to a minimum, but on this show, it was right back to business with Karen Angle getting pushed over 90% of the TNA roster. And like we saw on this show, even when Karen's not on TV, there are multiple segments of people talking about her, doing things because of her. Kurt's blind dates because of Karen. Brother Ray and his efforts to get Kurt a hot chick because of Karen. I just don't understand this at all, and I've reached a point where I really need someone to explain it to me. Okay? Karen's not a wrestler, she's not a manager, she's not a valet, she brings very little to the table except the soap opera crap, which according to the quarter-hour ratings, most of the fans don't even like. So why is she there? when she tries to get physically involved in angles, it doesn't work at all. Like on this show, for example, Kurt's insulting that girl Sandy. He has the beautiful people. TNA's biggest ratings draws, by the way, give her the paper bag treatment, and that's all well and good. That's fine. But then out comes Karen, and they have her actually knock the beautiful people down. She knocks over Velvet Sky with this weak-ass little push, and I felt really bad for Velvet Sky having to sell that thing, too. It looked ridiculous. But the most ridiculous part about this was that Karen got any heat whatsoever on Angelina. She comes up from behind, pulls Angelina's hair, knocks her down for a few seconds, but even that was too much. Angelina should have completely destroyed Karen on general principles, especially seeing as how they're probably grooming Angelina for a run with the Knockouts title pretty soon, if I'm understanding these knocked out video packages correctly. But that wasn't going to happen because Karen's not a wrestler, so she can't take bumps. And the worst part about this is that Karen Angle gets an enormous amount of focus in the storyline she's involved in, which not only has a negative effect on that storyline, it also has a negative effect on the rest of the show as a result. And this show is a perfect example of this, okay? On this show, we had 2 World X Cup matches, 2 Knockouts matches, and Samoa Joe's first TV match in several weeks. Guess what all 5 of these matches had in common? They were all way too short because so much of the show was devoted to Karen Angle and her ever-widening sphere of influence. If there's one good thing that can be gleaned from Karen being there, maybe, it's that this may provide a doorway for the Knockouts to become a bigger part of the main event picture. And by Knockouts, I mean the women who can actually wrestle. I'm excluding Karen from this. If you have the beautiful people rough up Karen to the weak extent that Karen can be roughed up, and then and then have Gail Kim and ODB, give them an excuse to get involved because of their whole feud, it might help with the ratings for these segments, possibly. But enough about Karen Angle already, because the truth is, if you take away all the crap she was involved with on this show, and all the stuff on the show that happened because of her, this was actually a pretty good Impact. The Motor City Machine Guns won their 3rd match in a row. It's great to see them on the comeback trail, finally, after they were so ridiculously deep-pushed after Against All Odds. The World X Cup matches were good while they lasted. Let's all hope Alex Kozlov is okay. He took a pretty sick bump, landed right on his head. It was scary. The Knockouts matches, same deal, both short but good. This is 2 street fights in a row now for Moose. They've established that she knows her way around a hardcore brawl pretty well, and that she can take a lot of punishment. But I would like to see what she can do in an actual wrestling match one of these days. And one thing I noticed during this that I thought was kind of weird, is it my imagination, or did they shave Roxy's head again? I mean, seriously, at Slammiversary, her hair looked like it was coming back in pretty nicely. And on this show, she was back to looking like a big Q-tip. I don't know. Maybe I'm seeing things. Anyway, we also had Taylor defeat Raisha Saeed to earn another shot at Awesome Kong next week. And I stand by what I said about last week about Moose's entrance music. Still don't like it, but I actually thought the music that they gave Taylor and Saeed was pretty good. Anyway, this was, I believe, the 2nd match that we've seen Raisha Saeed in, and I am now 100% convinced that this whole Raisha Saeed character is another case of the gimmick hindering the wrestler. I think TNA seriously needs to take the burqa off her and just let her be Melissa. She's not bad with it by any means. I mean, I think she plays the character very well, but if you see her work as cheerleader Melissa, there's just no comparison. She's good as Saeed, but she's great when she's allowed to be herself, so I hope that they'll give that some thought at least. Also, in the midst of the Karen Angle soap opera, they announced a 6-man tag for Victory Road that the fans can vote on during the pay-per-view. They can vote on the stipulation. It's probably going to be a Full Metal Mayhem. That's what I'm voting for. And if you add that to Joe versus Booker T in the Four Corners Ultimate X match, that's a stacked card right there. Anyway, the Karen Angle stuff kind of derailed Impact to an extent this week, but that doesn't change the fact that the card for Victory Road is shaping up really nicely. There's several matches on there I can't wait to see, and we've still got the go-home show next week, so there might still be some more developments to come out of that still.